Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw Count Out. It's Saturday. This is the day before WrestleMania. Whoa, man, how about that takeover last night?
Something else. We haven't even watched it yet, but it's going to be spectacular.
Wow, we're recording this on Tuesday to get ahead of ourselves.
So we don't have to work even more this weekend.
Yeah, but I imagine that takeover is probably pretty great.
Maybe best ever. I don't know.
Can't believe somebody actually died on that show.
I don't think that happens, Steve.
I really hope that. I hope now that I said it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Do you get freaked out about that? Like watching some of that stuff? You're like, man, I hope.
I did think about this last night that, the main event of any particular show, particularly the large show like WrestleMania, what if someone got badly hurt during the main event, early on the main event? That'd be terrible.
That would be horrible. That'd be terrible. I mean, this year it's okay because of the triple threat. There's still two people to have a match.
It'd still be pretty terrible to.
What would happen though? Let's say Becky was supposed to win,
and she gets hurt.
She gets massively hurt, like huge head wound, and like she's out.
Yeah.
And then like Vince would be like, "Oh, I guess we're just gonna go with Charlotte or Ronda."
Well, depending on what Ronda's gonna do after Mania.
They're both gonna get booed. You think on the fly they can turn into a babyface versus heel match instead of because they're like basically two heels?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Charlotte's good enough.
Yeah, she could do that. Turn, yeah.
She's great.
Or turn.
Anyways, we're talking about WrestleMania main events. You know why? Because we're weird. We're talking about injury stuff. But also because it's Mania season. Mania's tomorrow. We're doing our live reactions. But also this year, of course, first time the women are main eventing WrestleMania. It's fantastic.
Yes.
Hot story. Great go-home segment on Raw this past week.
Fantastic.
But it got us thinking. It's Mania season count out. Main event. Which main events should have main evented WrestleManias in the past? Which matches
instead of main events that did main event?
What matches that were on during a WrestleMania should have ended their particular main WrestleMania,
as opposed to the match that actually did end?
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. So, for example, a match that definitely should have main evented WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan.
Without a doubt.
All the titles, the world titles were in that one.
Yes,
his story was the hottest one.
Indeed.
No doubt. That should have main evented.
Zero doubt.
But we found 10 where there's maybe
some doubt, if not clear-cut proof, the match that main evented should not have main evented.
I'm a bit more clear-cut than others, but that's why we do this. And then we let you guys decide.
Discuss.
Talk about it or whatever you want to do. So we're going to go ahead and run through these. Number 10.
10.
The Ultimate Warrior versus Macho Man, WrestleMania 7.
This is at WrestleMania 7. This was a retirement stipulation. I think whoever lost this match, whomever lost it, would have to retire.
Well, this is also 1 year, so let's some history here. The Ultimate Warrior won the title in a big, what was supposed to have been a torch-passing moment 1 year earlier. From Hulk Hogan.
Correct.
So Hulk Hogan was at that point set to ride into the sunset. He's handing over the world title,
the WWF.
The future of the WWF. And remind me again, who main evented this WrestleMania
Hulk
1 year
Hogan.
later?
Hogan did against Sergeant Slaughter.
The man who took the title from Sergeant Slaughter took that title from
the Warrior. Yes.
Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's pretty ridiculous.
And then the SummerSlam following this, I think is when Ultimate Warrior said, I want a lot more money. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, and then Vince said,
yes,
okay,
cool.
And then no, you're gone.
And then boom, you're fired.
Yes.
But at this point, Ultimate Warrior was in a feud with the Macho Man. And we all know the Macho Man, that guy he could put on a great match with anything, including the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes, because Ultimate Warrior was known for many things, most of them pretty lousy.
Yes, correct.
One of those things was his wrestling ability.
Very lousy.
Yes.
Very lousy.
Yes.
And it's funny because in doing research for this show, we just a little while ago,
we watched the match.
We watched this match, and then we watched right after it Macho Man versus Flair, a guy who's very well known for his in-ring ability as being
the opposite of lousy. Very good.
Very good.
Excellent.
Exactly. And in this, it was like Macho Man basically, even Macho Man walking on eggshells, having to I feel like when you're in a match with the Ultimate Warrior, you have to it's not a delight. You simply have to deal with being in a match against the Ultimate Warrior.
Here's the thing. If you can bring the Ultimate Warrior to a decent, enjoyable match, that is a feat. And yeah, this match is wildly overbooked. Sherry Martel is involved a lot.
Yeah.
Apart from the finish, which is a bit lame, It is a fun match.
Yeah.
It's really fun. The
Yeah.
opposite of the main event, which is Hogan Slaughter, which is a snooze fest.
Yeah.
The highlight of that match is Hogan bleeding all over the place.
Right.
And then he takes a chair shot, immediately starts pouring blood from the head, and then it's Hulk out, boot, leg drop, Hogan wins.
Neither Slaughter nor Hogan were known for
Their in-ring prowess.
their in-ring ability. Neither of those guys can bring anybody to a 5-star
So
match.
you really don't want to watch 20 minutes of them trading rest holds. Whereas
No.
this match was more or less nonstop.
Yeah, and like you said, it was overbooked. The Ultimate Warrior, he didn't have much by way of stamina. He was a strong guy. He had some strong on him. He had some muscles on him.
Well, they did an interesting and maybe creative way of giving the Ultimate Warrior some rest when the Macho Man hit 5 elbow drops on him.
It allowed, Warrior he could just basically take a nap.
A bit of a respite. And then, of course, unfortunately, he kicked out.
Because he didn't actually sell any of those elbows.
No, he just laid there.
He just laid there.
And then kicked out after the 4th or 5th. But then, he delivered his finish. Press slam, Warrior splash. Macho Man kicked out.
Yeah.
The finish was kind of lame, though, where the Warrior hit 3 shoulder tackles, 2 of which sent Macho Man tumbling outside the ring.
Very
put
lame.
Macho Man back in and pinned him.
Yeah.
Now, if he'd follow that up with press slam, Warrior splash, a more satisfying finish, maybe. But anyways, probably the real highlight of this match is afterwards, Elizabeth, who was sitting near ringside for this match. They couldn't essentially give her an actual ringside comp seat.
Yeah,
for
she
this
was
match.
like on the entrance ramp.
Yeah, she was like 5 rows deep or something.
Yeah.
She comes down to the ring. Her and Macho Man have a reunion. The following SummerSlam, they would kayfabe get married. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we'll talk about his match at WrestleMania 8, where she was involved in the storyline with Flair. But, it kind of kickstarted their reunion.
Was it
in front of cameras.
Was it the SummerSlam following this or the one following the
SummerSlam following this that they got married?
Okay. And then, like you said, I mean, this was sort of the only one on here. Now, yes, it is the best match of them all. I think the best example or the best evidence that I could find for this one main event, the case for this main eventing, besides the fact that it's a way better match than
the actual
Hogan
main
Slaughter,
event, yes.
But still, even crappy matches got big pops back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hogan Slaughter actually got a pretty big pop at the end because they were using a ton of that Iraqi heat for Slaughter because the Iraq War, the first Iraq War was going on. But on Warrior's trunks, on his buttocks,
Yeah,
there was an
airbrushed.
airbrushed picture of the world title, and then the letter, the words, like this means so much more than this, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like this match
It's
is
more important
above
than
title.
titles, yes.
Exactly.
Therefore, it should be above Hogan. Therefore, it should be main event.
So in Warrior's estimation, it should have been the main event. But yeah, and it is actually a really fun match. There is a lot of Sherry and Macho Man are both very active in this match. In
Yes.
fact, they are the only things that are active about this
Yes,
match.
yes.
And the fact that Meltzer gave this 4.25 stars. I'm not sure I would have given it that many potatoes. However, I'll agree it was a much better match than that Hogan Savage 20 minutes
and
of nonsense.
It really, if the finish had been better, it probably would have ended in a more satisfying fashion.
Yeah.
Just to see 3 shoulder tackles, especially when Macho Man drops 5 elbow drops on the Warrior and kicks out with ease.
Yeah.
You think a shoulder tackle is not a huge deal.
Yeah. But yeah, so no, I'll give this a begrudging agree.
Well, that's only number 10.
Oh, no, I know. Yeah, number 10s are usually begrudging agrees. Number 9.
9.
Diesel versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. This was WrestleMania 11. Yeah.
11.
What was the actual main event of WrestleMania?
Lawrence Taylor of
dear.
NFL football fame, former New York Giant, taking on Bam Bam Bigelow.
Kind of cool, though, that Bam Bam Bigelow got to main event WrestleMania at some point.
And while it wasn't a spectacular match, the main event, Lawrence Taylor handled himself pretty well in the wrestling ring.
Yeah, he did. However, this is Mr. WrestleMania Shawn Michaels we're talking about here.
Getting a shot, his first shot at the WWF title at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Here. The match itself is pretty decent, pretty good by Diesel standards, because, again, not known for his in-ring prowess.
Right.
HBK, much like Macho Man, could bring just about anybody to a good match.
It's kind of crazy how, so this is 95. It's kind of crazy. Was it 95?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 95. Yeah, because 94 was Luger Hard.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how, if you take a look at a Diesel match, say what you will about Kevin Nash, but in 1995, the guy, he could move pretty well For a man his size especially. He can move pretty well.
Yeah, his repertoire of moves wasn't terribly large, but he can move.
In a matter of 2 years, how did he slow down so hardcore? Because by the time he got to WCW, he wasn't putting on the matches just like a year later. He wasn't putting on these kind of matches.
I don't think he really had to.
That's a good point. That's such a good point. He didn't have to.
I don't think he had to.
He already had the guaranteed paycheck.
He had the money, man. He wasn't champ. The whole thing of the company wasn't resting squarely on his shoulders.
That's a good point.
He didn't have to put forth that much effort in WCW.
I didn't think about it that way.
Have to.
I didn't think about it that way.
And think about
I just
this
figured
too.
if you could, you would.
If you're in the ring opposite your good buddy Shawn Michaels, who is at that point already one of the best, if not the best, in-ring competitor in WWF. Mm-hmm. You're at WrestleMania. You don't want to go out there and embarrass yourself.
Yeah, sure.
You want to go out there, have a good time with your buddy.
Yeah.
Go at the same speed best you can with him and put on the best match you can.
Yeah.
This, of course, is after Diesel was Shawn Michaels' bodyguard. Mm-hmm. They had a falling out.
Yeah.
This is HBK's WrestleMania match after he went wire to wire at the Rumble.
Oh yeah.
Previous Rumble, of course. Next year he'd win the Rumble again.
Yeah.
And would beat Bret Hart for the WWF title. Also, this match features appearances by Pamela Anderson and Jenny McCarthy.
Nice. 90s icons, man.
Yes.
Absolutely. One of which now is a terrible anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
So be sure to vaccinate your kids.
Yes, please.
People.
Yes, please.
Don't be stupid. Vaccinate your kids.
Yes, please. Yes.
It's a public service announcement here from Going In Wrong.
Yes, it is.
Anyways, and then like we said, the main event was a celebrity match. Mm-hmm. These days, that would be your Braun Strowman versus Rob Gronkowski or something like that.
Yeah. And that
Jinder
probably fall at some point in the latter third of the card, but not the main event.
Because it's not like, LT was a star, but it's not like he was who do you think had more name recognition, Ronda Rousey or Lawrence Taylor? I would argue that it was Ronda Rousey.
I don't know.
Ronda Rousey was like a singular figure at the top of her game. LT was a team player.
But he was a standout defensive player. He was probably one of the more famous defensive players of his generation. It's him, Reggie White, maybe Ronnie Lott.
Underrated actor, that LT also. Any Given Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Man, he could have been like, I imagine him like a villain in the Blade series.
That'd been interesting.
Yeah. Didn't he end up being a scumbag, though? Oh, God, yeah. Man. Oof, ouch. Anyways, McMahon sure can pick him. But, yeah. And this was Diesel versus HBK, obviously, is for the title as well. Mm-hmm. Diesel, how deep was Diesel into his year-long run? Do we know?
I believe this was 95.
April of 95.
So I think he won it the previous November.
Okay, all right. So he was like knee deep. He was
I think he won before Survivor Series when he destroyed Backlund at a house show.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I want to say it's November, maybe October.
Yeah. So
anyways, the previous fall he won it, I believe.
Okay, all right. So yeah, he was waist deep. He was a big star. Mm-hmm. And Shawn Michaels, of course. This is the kind of match that if the situation was now, Twitter would be all like, this better be the main event. We don't want a celebrity match main eventing WrestleMania. But back then, there was no Twitter, so nobody could really voice their opinions.
No, they had to write sternly worded letters to
Plus, people were stupider.
The editors of Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Yeah, they were stupider back in 1995, so they were like totally cool with that kind of shit. Let's move on.
Yes.
Number 8. Brock Lesnar versus Bill Goldberg.
WrestleMania 33.
Yeah, no, this isn't WrestleMania 20, mind you.
No, it's WrestleMania 33, the actual enjoyable match between
the make good, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. So we were there for this. This match is less than 5 minutes long, and you don't need a second more because they packed this 5 minutes with so much entertaining stuff.
Yeah.
That is satisfying. And maybe it only would have really worked in the position it was in the card because of what it is. But given that the main event was a sloppy, awkward, uncomfortable 25-minute match between Undertaker and Roman Reigns, that was painful to watch because you could just tell Undertaker was in pain the entire time.
I was sitting there. We were there live, hour 7, uncomfortable chair, strobe lights, eating away at my brain.
Well, even take that out of the equation. I'm talking about the actual quality of the match.
It made it worse.
Yeah.
It was just a nightmare scenario.
Now, if this is a situation where the Undertaker for sure retired, as we were led to believe because he put his coat and his hat down,
then a case could be made.
You can make the case.
But my God, he keeps on kind of coming back, not coming back. He's back. He's not back. He'll come back for a promo on some special episode of Raw or SmackDown, and then he'll
have matches in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
But he's not at Mania this year probably, but he's going to be a StarCast.
Yeah.
Anyways, in hindsight, this might have been a more enjoyable way to finish the show. A good send-off for Goldberg.
Yeah.
Getting a main event of Mania.
Could you imagine?
Didn't get to do before.
What if they did this instead? You have this match finish the card, and then Brock celebrates whatever. These two guys embrace because Brock really wanted to do the Goldberg thing, and Goldberg really wanted to do the Brock thing. This was a big-time feud. This is a big-money feud, and I really enjoyed it. It had a really killer kickoff at Survivor Series, the previous Survivor Series. And then, so Brock then goes his merry way up the ramp, and Goldberg sticks around. He calls his kid, and he does the farewell thing that he did the next night.
After the cameras stop rolling on Raw.
Yeah. What if he does that to even maybe after the cameras go off, at Mania, he gives that thing in front of however many thousand, 70,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll, if the image of Brock Lesnar holding up the Universal title isn't enough to get people geeked out, which these days it totally isn't, he leaves, and then Goldberg gets to send the people home happy with a very, very heartfelt thank you and goodbye. I think that could have been a killer end to WrestleMania.
That could have been pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that could have been good. But instead we got a very long Roman Undertaker match.
That was just uncomfortable to watch.
And then all that stuff where he puts down the hat and
the jacket.
And then it's just that music on a loop again.
And he has to painfully walk up the ramp halfway and then descend.
And then he goes
to the underworld. You got to pump up the smoke and fog to cover up the fact that the little
the hydraulics
are malfunctioning.
Exactly.
We need more smoke, damn it. But all the smoke. How much more smoke do we have? All the smoke. All the smoke.
All right. Here we go. Number 7.
7.
Kurt Angle, Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. WrestleMania last year.
Yeah, last year.
34.
Main event last year was Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns in a ridiculous infinite finisher match.
That match was terrible.
It was awful.
That match was horrible.
Even take out the fact that Brock retained in somewhat surprising fashion, it just wasn't an interesting match. There was no story. It's just finish. Whereas this match had a story. It was entertaining.
This match was so much fun.
It was tons of fun.
We had some intergender wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, this match was great.
It was overbooked, but it was tons of fun.
Yeah. And, I mean, great. I know they couldn't sort of... I mean, you could... Also, you could have had some... The first time women were in the main event of WrestleMania. And then transitioned to the first ever women's only main event at WrestleMania. So you're doing the making history thing. You have a huge name in Ronda Rousey. Kurt Angle's a big name. You got the heads of the company in this match. That is... I mean, the only worry would have been... What if it was a huge stinker? What if Ronda Rousey was not ready for prime time?
That's a concern.
That might have been a concern.
But then again, the main event as it was a stinker.
Terrible.
It's awful.
That was awful. This was a very fun match. I remember watching this. We were dealing with our stream issues, which hopefully will be a thing of the past.
Yeah, we have actual internet now.
Come tomorrow. This was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Do we have anything else to say about it?
No, it was just really fun.
Yeah.
It was probably the most fun, maybe if not the most fun match in the entire card.
Yeah. It was a bit of an overbooked mess.
But it was tons of fun.
What year was it? 31 was the year that Rollins cashed in.
Yeah.
That was the year that Sting fought Triple H.
That was an overbooked mess, too.
That was a lot of fun, too. Triple H can have fun matches. I hope he has a fun match tomorrow against Dave Bautista.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like that to be overbooked.
That'd be something
Bring
else.
Orton out. Bring Flair out.
Bring Flair.
Yeah. I don't know. That's all I got.
Orton already has a match.
Stephanie.
Maybe Orton will be indisposed.
You can just do a couple. You can just do a couple things.
All right. Maybe.
Number 6.
6.
Charlotte versus Becky versus Sasha Banks.
WrestleMania 32, the original main event, or the actual main event, was Triple H versus Reigns. Talk about a stinker.
Yeah, that was a crap match.
28-minute stinker.
Yeah.
This match, tons of fun. Plus, earlier in the show, they ditched the Divas title, debuted the WWE Women's title.
Beautiful looking title.
Yes, gorgeous looking belt. Lita unveiled it. It would have been a real strong showing to not only unveil that title at that show, but have that match main event the show.
Yeah.
And it was one of, if not the best match of the entire card.
Nobody would have complained if they did that.
No.
You know?
No.
These are all big names coming hot off NXT, where they revolutionized the women's wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pad this episode out, man.
No, it's fine, man.
So wait, what actually main event is this one? Oh yeah, Triple H versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
You know, in defense of that,
Storyline wise, I understand the point of Triple H Reigns main eventing.
I mean, it's kind of a no brainer. They did that.
Yeah, however,
they couldn't have known that was going to be a terrible match.
Well, that and then Triple H really did the program no favors by crotch chopping all over the place. People are going to cheer for crotch chops.
He
wanted to be the cool heel when he should have been the vicious heel.
He doesn't like being.
But you know what? Even then, if he was vicious heel and beating the hell out of Reigns, people would have popped for that.
Yeah, I know.
He was kind of in a no-win situation. He had to be a sneaky heel, and he's just not a sneaky heel.
Though I mean, the way that storyline worked was Roman Reigns being the guy. Like that's exactly what it was. Triple H really needed to be the chicken shit here, and he couldn't. He was never a chicken shit heel. He was a bully heel. He was a manipulative heel. Never a chicken shit heel.
Was he kind of chicken shit in Evolution? Because they had people he had his back.
Oh, when no, when you're right, and then the tail end of that, when he was taking on Batista, maybe a little chicken shit.
Yeah,
but not like a Jericho chicken shit.
No, not like Seth Rollins.
Right? Yeah, not like a Seth Rollins chicken shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he was that and Reigns kept on beating him up, then people would have popped for that.
Yeah.
But Triple H is kind of not in his nature. He likes to be the Motorhead guy.
Yeah. He wants to be out there cross chopping, tell people to suck it and all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Get the sledgehammer out and beat people up with it. People are going to pop for that.
Yeah, people love that.
When people have issue with Roman Reigns being pushed to the top of the card, anytime someone starts beating him up, people were getting excited about it. But this was April of 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Just go back to the previous December or January when Reigns beat Sheamus for that title in Philadelphia, and the crowd erupted.
Yeah. And he beat the crap out of Triple H.
Yeah, and he beat the crap out of he punched Vince.
And he punched Vince, yeah.
I mean,
it's weird that they got away from that so quickly.
Yeah, in a matter of 4 months, they did something that was working wildly. For some reason, Dean Ambrose got involved in all that. Yeah. He was front and center. Roman was pushed to the background.
Yeah.
And
Dean and Triple H had a really good match right before WrestleMania.
Yeah. And then Roman had to put his title up at the Rumble. They did that terrible bit where he got taken out by the League of Nations, and Triple H predictably ended up winning the belt to set up this match at Mania. But the creative mistakes they made along the way were staggering.
Yeah, I still think it would have been cooler because that Royal Rumble came down to Dean and Triple H. That'd have been kind of cool if they gave that title to Dean at that point and then forced him into a program with Roman Reigns. It's like, ooh, brother versus brother kind of thing. That could have been interesting. But yeah, they went with the Authority versus Roman Reigns, and it just kind of sucked.
It just didn't work.
But this match, like you said, this is a really good match. I don't remember a lot about it, but I do remember it was decent.
It's when Sasha had the Eddie Guerrero-inspired gear. She did the frog splash.
See, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good
Charlotte
stuff.
ended up winning.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably on here as it should have been, but it was least likely to have happened. You know what I mean? I don't know what sort of explanation they would have given for this being the main event. But, yeah, it'd have been cool.
It would have been awesome.
Number 5. HBK versus Ric Flair.
WrestleMania 24. The match that did main event, from my recollection, is pretty good. Undertaker versus Edge, where Undertaker beats Edge for the championship.
God, I don't remember anything about that.
This is Ric Flair's last match to the WWE.
Oh, this is killer. This is killer stuff.
As we just see a couple years later, HBK's retirement match against Undertaker was the main event of the show.
Yeah.
Largely because of what HBK meant to the company.
And this definitely feels like the first one probably in a series of matches like this. We have the end of an era match. We have his series against Undertaker, and then HBK against Flair here. Sort of kicked off that whole thing. And yeah, I think those all should have been probably end of an era. What main event of the year end of an era?
Bring it to that in a little bit.
Okay. Oh, okay. Is that on here?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. There it is. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hard making that case. But
that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, we can try to make the case.
Yeah, sure. But no, HBK versus Flair, of course, this ended with the maybe the most famous super kick in the history of WrestleManias, anyways, with when HBK said, "Lo siento, te amo," and then super kicked him. That's what it would have said on the Spanish broadcast.
Instead of "I'm sorry, I love you." Yes. Super kick. I'm sending Flair into a retirement before going out into TNA Impact.
Yeah, the adios.
Yes.
Yeah. But no, another spectacular showing from both these guys.
And also, I think
Ric Flair was in it. He couldn't have a bad match.
And I think also just based on Ric Flair's importance to wrestling, give him the main event spot. If this is his last match, give him the main event spot.
Yeah.
One of the most legendary performers in the history of the industry, arguably the greatest wrestler ever.
Mm-hmm.
Give him the main event spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember anything about... from what I remember, from what I understand, Edge and Taker was a good feud.
Yeah.
And it was probably a good match.
Yeah.
But, man, like when you think of these matches, think what's like the most iconic match on that WrestleMania... And it's this.
It's this one.
They replay this ad nauseum. They replay this all the time.
The next night on Raw, they have Flair's goodbye, essentially, where the whole locker room comes down and he has the actual retirement ceremony type.
And he's crying and probably bleeding.
Yeah.
Number 4. Yeah, it's the end of an era.
Yeah.
Triple H versus Undertaker with Shawn Michaels as guest referee.
Hell in a Cell, WrestleMania 28. Of course, main event of this show is kind of a huge deal. John Cena versus The Rock. Their first match, but knowing that it happened again the next year in the main event as well, just because it felt like they weren't saying it in so many words, but when you hear "end of an era," it makes it sound like someone's retiring.
Yeah.
At this point, Shawn Michaels already retired. That leaves you with Triple H and The Undertaker. Now, if this was The Undertaker's last match,
oh man,
what a way to go out!
Oh, big
undefeated
time,
at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
having one of, if not the best match of his entire career. This match might be my favorite WWE match of all time. The storytelling this match is insane. The history between all three of them. Usually special guest referees don't bring a lot to matches. Shawn Michaels is really what kind of held this match together.
Yeah, he was the rug, man.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It is really good. I remember watching this. Was it at my old house at Trails? I remember watching this and just being mesmerized by it. It was fantastic. It might actually be my favorite WrestleMania match of all time. It might be my favorite WWE match. I don't know, but no, it was really something special. One of the problems with the Cena Rock thing, obviously, that's the big money match. It's the freaking
obviously,
Rock,
obviously.
But like that whole from 27 and then 28 and 29, the entire thing was so predictable.
I know.
Down to CM Punk having that title and then losing it to The Rock. It was all so predictable. So it's like you're watching something you basically have already seen.
Yeah.
Because you know what's going to happen. With this, you might know what's going to happen, but there's also the element of, man, this is end of an era. Shawn Michaels, special guest referee. We know that he's like a face and he's not going to betray Undertaker. But then there are elements of that in there.
Yeah.
Undertaker retired him. And it's like, man, if anybody's going to beat Undertaker, it's going to be Triple H in this match right here. This is going to be it. And then, of course, Triple H loses. And I think if it was up to Triple H, Undertaker would have either retired here or just been undefeated.
Yep, at WrestleMania.
Here on out.
Yep.
He ended up losing, of course, to Brock Lesnar at a
couple years later. Yeah.
Was that at 30?
It was at 30,
30, yeah. Boy, that was a good Mania. But yeah, and this was just stellar. But again, Cena Rock.
It is the money match, but again, in hindsight, it's a better match.
It's a way better match, like one of the best matches.
Yeah.
And it's the iconic one. I'm kind of curious. I don't really know. When Mania season comes around, iconic matches sort of pop up. People start talking about them, whether it's on one of the wrestling YouTubers or on Twitter. Do people talk about Cena versus Rock at all?
Not very much.
Not really.
No.
And I think it's just because there was nothing surprising there. Maybe it was a little surprising Cena lost that first one.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, I said it was pretty predictable because then
we knew he was going to win we knew they were going to do it again.
Yeah. Despite them saying once in a lifetime.
I do like that last moment of Cena sitting there in front of the wrestler, like on the ramp in defeat.
Yeah.
And the WrestleMania signs behind him, or the stages behind him.
Yeah,
It was a great visual. But the visual of these guys up on the ramp, all holding each other, all propping each other up, that's killer.
And they had the 19-0 to go to 20-0.
Yeah. That's killer. That should have been it.
That should have been it.
That's it.
That should have been really an end of an era. Maybe they knew it was an end of an era, so that's why it didn't go on last.
But that's just so wrestling. You have to beat everything into the ground.
I know.
Nothing is safe.
But if it wasn't really end of an era, why they call it an end of an era?
And in the same pay-per-view, why they call it once in a lifetime? They knew it wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on.
Number
3.
3.
Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock, WrestleMania 19.
Now, the match, the main event of this show, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle, is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. It's
for the title. Totally understand why it was the main event. This was Steve Austin's last match in WWE. Again, comparable to Flair, when you have someone who's so important, and they knew this could be Austin's last match, if I remember correctly. When you have that's so important to wrestling, to the company, and this is their swan song, just put it on last.
Yeah, I know. I agree. No, I agree totally. I think that, I mean, the lasting image I actually have from, and I know it's a great match. It's a great match.
Oh, it's Brock Lesnar almost breaking his neck.
That's the lasting image I have of that match. It was terrifying. And yeah, I mean, even if Austin had never been dropped on his head by Owen Hart, I have no doubt that he probably would have continued wrestling for much longer than he did. But you know, this is rockin' Austin, and this is only what 2003. That's not that far removed from when they were still like top guys.
Yep.
So it is kind of interesting that they didn't have this go on last. I mean, the lasting image I have of this match, of course, is after The Rock finally beat Stone Cold at WrestleMania, he sits there and he talks to him. And I forget. I think Rock has mentioned kind of what he says to him in interviews after this. But I mean, you could just imagine the history of these guys, how high up on the totem pole they were. I mean, it's almost kind of fitting that they didn't main event because they're both, you can tell there's Rock, obviously, with his lineage. Austin, obviously, a traditionalist when it comes to wrestling and how things should be done.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of fitting that the new talent are in the main event.
Especially since this is Stone Cold's last match, The Rock moving on more and more to Hollywood.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yeah, I understand it.
Yeah.
At the same time.
But still, I mean, these guys are, you know, boy, they still had a lot to offer. But Austin's entire body was just shutting down.
Yeah, totally was.
Sucks, man.
It does suck.
That sucks. So yeah, moving on. Number two. This will be a quick episode, man. Macho Man versus Ric Flair. This one's from WrestleMania 8.
And the match that did main event was Hulk Hogan versus Sid. Nothing on the line.
So, okay, technically this was a co-main event. It was advertised.
No, whatever goes on last, the main event.
I know.
I don't care what Chris Jericho says. The last match is the main event.
Yeah, okay. They're on the poster.
Yeah.
It's also
now
weird.
like a bunch of people are on the posters. I mean,
this was the year. This was the year that people were like, "Wait, why didn't Hogan fight Flair?" Which is a valid question.
Yeah,
but apparently
it's a convoluted answer.
Well, yeah, it's weird because in the summary answer was they didn't draw on the house show circuit.
But it seems like there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that's kind of the short answer. So instead, they went with Hogan versus Sid,
which is a terrible,
awful.
Match.
It seems like a match that like rookies would do.
It's a terrible match.
It's terrible. We covered that in the worst WrestleMania match we did earlier.
Yeah,
it's awful.
And I like rookies. Yeah, and so like that was here's the really tragic thing about it. Going into that match, into that WrestleMania rather. This was billed as Hogan's final match. He was going to retire and then go do that beach show. And they did like this interview, this sit-down interview.
Oh, where he's talking in his shoot voice?
Where he's talking in his weird shoot voice. And then they used that match to bring back the Ultimate Warrior. There was no... who walked in as champion?
Flair.
Oh, yeah. And sorry.
You just assumed that either Hogan or Sid was
I
champion.
forgot. Yeah, that's right. This is for the damn title.
Yeah.
This is for the flipping title.
It's a dream match.
Yes.
For the title.
Yes.
And it happens about halfway through the card.
Because what I was going to say about the Hogan Sid one is that it ended in a DQ.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no clean finish.
Yeah. Because Papa Shango comes out.
Yeah, that's right.
He and Sid start beating up on Hogan, and then Warrior comes out and make the save.
Yeah, so there was no
So the feel-good moment of the end of WrestleMania 8 is the Warrior returning.
Yeah. Which I don't really know what he cares about.
No.
But this was a title match.
Yes. A dream match between two legends.
Two very active competitors. Granted, Flair, I mean, they still had a pretty hot feud after this.
Yeah.
About the Elizabeth stuff. But Macho Man, a year after his retirement match against Warrior.
Unretired. Back to wrestling.
and he wins the title here.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's a great match. And it's so funny when you're watching this back-to-back with Warrior Macho Man, and then this, it's like Macho Man is a kid in a candy shop. He is having so much fun, and he's moving so fast as opposed to having to do circles around the Ultimate Warrior, not embarrassing the guy.
This match is a little bit overbooked, too, because Mr. Perfect's out there with Flair. Hands him
so much fun, though.
Oh, it's tons of fun.
Yeah.
You got foreign objects.
Yeah.
You got Elizabeth coming down the ringside, and then like a bunch of people, including Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
Trying to
baby Shane McMahon.
Trying to convince her to go backstage for some reason.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it's just a lot of fun. In the end, of course, Macho Man picks up the win via roll-up because Flair's been working his leg over, trying to get the figure 4 on. It's just tons of fun.
Yeah. And then we get a great Flair promo.
Oh, it's a classic Flair promo
afterwards.
Yeah. And Macho Man's is pretty good, too.
Next time I see Elizabeth, I'm going to give her a kiss on her moist, wet lips. Woo! Creep.
Yeah.
What a creep. This is
And
2019 Flair. Can't be doing that.
And afterwards, Macho Man says, with the belt says, "This is only a part of you, yeah, Flair.
I want the whole
nature boy, yeah."
Oh, yeah.
And then he gives the belt to Elizabeth, says, "Here, this belongs to you. Get out of here."
Get out of here, go. Doesn't let her talk again. That was a weird thing. But yeah, and then instead of the main event we got, because Hogan, but then again, so this was WrestleMania 8, Hogan's final match, right? What happened to WrestleMania 9, Larson?
He won the title.
He won the title in what was actually his final WrestleMania.
Well, for a while.
Until good. There you go. Number 1. Rock versus Hogan, 2000 WrestleMania X8.
18.
X8.
Yeah, X8. Triple H versus Jericho was the actual main event. Jericho says that match stinks.
Yeah.
It's not that great.
And Triple H is I think Triple H has even said, I don't know how we were supposed to follow that.
Can't.
Yeah, you can't follow
that. I've never seen a crowd that electric. Never.
This might be
Take the enthusiasm of like a PWG show and multiply it by, I don't know, what's 400. What do you have to times 400 by to get to 70,000? A lot.
Yeah.
What, 200? 2,000?
2,000 probably.
No, 200. I think 2,000 would take you up to 800,000.
Man, that's a lot of people. Yeah, it sounds right. 200 by 400.
As has been established on this show, though, our math isn't exactly our forte. Anyway, Steve, you continue.
200 times 400. Hold on.
No, it is
80,000.
Yeah.
200 by times 400. So anyways, I remember being there at Yankee Doodles, which is a bar in L.A. I don't know if it's still around. That would air WWE pay-per-views. You pay like $5 to get in.
Yeah.
And that place was electric. This might be, in my opinion, granted, Anna Vera is like my favorite actual wrestling match, but this might be the biggest WrestleMania moment in history. Talk about this is how passings of the torch are done. And granted, Rock was, he had maybe a toe already on the way to Hollywood.
Wasn't that much long after this that he was starting to do the Hollywood Rock thing.
Right, exactly, yeah. But talk about, and Hogan, to his credit, at this point, could still wrestle. Like, he went on a pretty decent tear for the year after this.
He actually won the Undisputed title.
And he won the Undisputed title, and he seemed to be having a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed it.
Well, he was back in WWF on top. Of course, Hulk Hogan would be having tons of fun.
I don't even know what I was thinking there.
What does he live for more than anything else?
Yeah. Hogan's
being
on top. Being on top. But everybody was having a lot of fun with Hogan being on top. Yeah. And that's sort of the difference. I don't really think.
Not Shawn Michaels.
He had fun during
that one match.
He had fun during that match.
He was having any fun.
But anyways, no, this was absolutely. And here's the thing about it. The thing that I loved about this was Vince bringing back the NWO. And according to Bruce Pritchard, Vince in the episode for Something to Wrestle that talked about the unified title one.
Judgment Day?
Judgment Day. Yeah, Judgment Day that we did a going in review on. He said it was that pay-per-view that he started telling people, we're bringing the NWO in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really loved the idea of bringing Hogan in because they knew that meant money. And they weren't so keen on Hall and Nash. But there did seem to be this odd idea, and I understood it because NWO was hot, or the idea of NWO and WWE's hot idea, But Vince underestimating the crowd's reaction to Hogan and not necessarily the NWO. Because people seem to understand that, man, this is a big moment. Hulk Hogan's back in the WWE. Like, NWO, fine, whatever, cool. But that's Hogan. And I'll never forget when they first came out in the ring, when they were doing their promo, I think it was Nash that talked first and then Hall, or maybe it was backwards. And then they hand the mic over to Hogan. Well, that crowd, during the initial promo with Hall and Nash, they were already chanting Hogan. They were like looking at that guy, not paying attention to the other guys. It was a big deal.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so when Hogan and Rock, and Hogan's supposed to be a bad guy because he's the NWO, that crowd was not buying that at all. They saw right through that and saw exactly what it was. Dream match between the icon of the 80s and the icon of the Attitude Era. That's what they wanted to see, and that's what that crowd brought that match to. And when you look at the reactions from The Rock and Hulk Hogan at that crowd, which was firmly 50-50, and in fact, it was probably that crowd was so firmly on both sides because they were probably chanting Hogan, Hogan, and then the same people probably chanting Rock.
Yeah. And they called an audible in the finish. Where they had the NWO attack Hogan after the match.
That's right.
To set a proper face turn for Hogan.
Which was brilliant.
Yeah.
Which was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So it was so electric. It was so massive. It was such a big moment. And then there was a match after it.
Yeah. How do you follow that?
How do you follow that? Was that a straight? I forget the Jericho Triple H match. Was that Hell in a Cell? Was that a cage match?
No,
that was a straight up match.
Yeah, the Hell in a Cell one was a different pay per view.
Okay, all right. Yeah, boy, oh boy. How do you?
You don't. You can't follow that. You absolutely cannot. But I'm wondering, to a certain extent, I don't know if you can anticipate. There's 2 matches after that.
You had a women's match after it. Yeah. 6-minute Jazz versus Lita versus Trish Stratus, and then was it 18, almost 19 minutes Triple H, Chris Jericho. Oh, that's right. Stephanie was with Chris Jericho.
Yep.
But man, yeah, nobody could really tell how hot that was going to be, and then it happened. It was like, oh yeah, okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I forget. You have The Rock and Hollywood and Hulk Hogan in a match. Of course, that's going to be.
I know.
Icon versus icon.
Icon versus icon.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the big glaring. Oh my God, that's definitely the top match, and it's kind of interesting because. Again, on the Pritchard thing, I believe it was when he was talking about Judgment Day. When he was talking about all that stuff, he said, the number one, if I recall correctly, Vince saw, when they were talking about, Jericho being the first guy to be undisputed.
Yeah.
Pritchard was saying, well, that was sort of third on the list of priorities.
Yeah. It was all to set up a story for Triple H to beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was like the NWO.
It was Rock, Hogan, something for Stone Cold. Yeah.
But man, Rock Hogan really, that just trumped everything.
Oh yeah.
So interesting stuff. Anyways, let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Of course, they're on the Twitter at Real Going In Raw. And then tomorrow,
2:00.
2:00 Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern.
9 or 10 Brexit.
Yowza. Boy, you guys are in for a.
It's gonna be a long day.
Some of them, Wayne Maker and Alex C. They need some of those Red Bulls that we got.
Yeah, we should mail them.
Absolutely.
Send them FedEx if they get there in time.
Not going to get there in time.
Probably not.
Anyways, thanks so much, everybody, for watching. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.
Be a part of Going In Raw today at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Starting at $1 a month, you can enjoy Going In Raw ad-free, gain access to the daily 30-minute Going In Raw post show, exclusive merchandise, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today. Click the link in the description.